Hello, everybody. Sara here. So exciting to finally be launching this episode. From the moment I decided I wanted to start this podcast, I had today's guest in mind as someone that I would love to bring on board. And funnily enough, it was one of those synchronicities where I'd originally reached out to cover a few topics of interest, but I wasn't very aware of where our guest was at in life. And then it turned out that we had so much in common and both had gone through pretty big life transitions in 2025. So there was a lot to share. Now, before rambling on, I do want to give today's guest, Tess, a good intro so that there's a bit more context in regards to what we're going to be covering in today's episode. Tess is a women's naturopath, mom of two, and the founder of her own women's health clinic in Margaret River. Known as a bit of a health detective, Tess combines evidence-based natural medicine with a deep understanding of how hormones, stress, and modern life intersect in a woman's body. She's got over 13 years of clinical experience where she's supported women through every stage of life. She's super passionate about fertility, hormones, mental health, and has worked with women all across Australia, both in her own practice and in other clinics. So when I originally invited Tess, it was mostly because I was once her patient in her own clinic in Margaret River, where I was based for the past 6 years. And I was desperate for someone to help me with some vaginal recurring infections. She was the very first naturopath I ever saw, and she just had so much wisdom. And the way she communicated in her practice felt so supportive and just very holistic. Like the whole picture was finally being looked at instead of dismissing or, going straight to a medication or whatnot. So when I first touched base with her, my original topics, knowing that she was further along in her 30s, was let's talk everything female health, things that she sees in practice, and also cover the motherhood journey and also running her own practice. So by the time she came to meet me and record this episode, there was a lot to cover because I just didn't want to leave one or the other out. So I decided to roll with it and then split our conversation into a two-part series. So in this first part, we are talking about business and how she started her journey 13 years ago in naturopathy, which at the time was not something that common or popular as it is now, and what her journey looked like leading up to creating her own business, which I love everything about career and ambition, especially as someone who knew that wanted to be a mum down the line and how that combined together. And some of the recurring things that she sees as a female only practice, where she works a lot with nervous system support, mental health, fertility, hormones, autoimmune conditions, etc. The very end of this episode, we briefly touch on relationships, but that kind of juiciness will be saved for part two. So, for anyone who is navigating health symptoms, thinking of motherhood, or deep into the motherhood journey, has their own business or wanting to start their own business, I know that there's so many things to take from this conversation. As you'll tell, I was very excited to have this chat with Tess. So, without further ado, here is Tess Doig. Welcome, Tess.
Thank you.
Thanks for making some time to come on the Dirty 30 Chats podcast. You're one of the very first guests, so I'm very excited. I feel like we've just had a bit of a chat about where we both are at, and there's just so much juiciness that I feel like it's the kind of conversation that women need to hear about to normalize what life in your 30s looks like.
Yes.
I'm like, I'm not sure at what point someone told us that our 30s were going to look one way, because we all believe that same narrative, right?
Oh, they'd be the hardest years of your life. Yeah. When everything blows up.
Literally. And funnily enough, the name of this podcast came from, I am the kind of person that when someone was turning 30, I'd be like, dirty 30. But it always had this like fun connotation. And now I'm like, dirty 30. It is dirty. It's messy.
Yeah.
And I'm 33, so I'm coming into my mid-30s, and you're 38. Yeah. So we're kind of like on both ends of our 30s, but I just want to open this as a very transparent, raw, real-life stories where other people who might be feeling similar things can gain a bit of perspective. So I guess I'll start with a bit of background as to how we met. So Tess, you're a local naturopath here in Margaret River, where we're both based. I'm about to move away, but yeah, we've both been based here for a long time. How many years has it been since you've been here?
I grew up here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I grew up here until I was like 18, 19.
Yeah.
I left and came back and swore I'd never live in my childhood home, and here I am. Yeah.
Stuck for life.
Yeah. Yeah, so now I have children, so, and they love it here, so yeah, probably.
Still not a bad place to be in.
No.
But yeah, definitely need your outings and coming back every now and then once they grow a bit older.
Yeah.
Cool. So I guess let's just start with a bit of career. Tell me a bit about how you got started into naturopathy and how you see your field of work.
Yeah. I, funnily enough, originally left school and went to university to do architecture. I'd always loved, like, human biology is my favorite subject in high school. Like, I'd always loved the human body. As a child, my favorite thing was like making potions and, bringing things, and I was like putting stuff on the cat, and, that was like it was really that core authentic self was within me. But I kind of got to university, I was like, no, I'm going to do an arts degree. And that failed miserably. So I did about a year. I think I got into my second year. I was like, this is just not for me, and I left. And I went traveling. I lived over in London for 12 months and did some travel over there. And when I came back, I was really sure, no, I want to do naturopathy. And I hadn't actually really seen anyone. I don't even really know. Once again, I don't even really know how I knew about it. It was not a thing.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
13 years ago, if I think about it, it's quite
Well,
new.
this was even longer. This is talking 18 years ago. It just wasn't a thing. And I think I had come back from that trip and was like, I had done a lot of partying in London.
As you do.
I was like 19, 20. I think, I must have been 21 by that stage. And I had actually saw another naturopath locally, and I was like, no, this is what I'm going to do. So I started studying. I graduated 2012, and I just loved it. I loved the degree, and I went diving straight first. So I got a job at a health food shop in Perth. They had a consulting room, and I basically just started pulling people off the floor and was like, come and see me.
Love that.
Yeah. I also was working as a Pilates instructor at the time, just to have an extra side job. I was a waitress as well. But I was like hustling. Yeah. I just knew this is what I wanted to do, and I was going to make it work no matter what. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. From there, I just grew my solo practice. I did go into like a chiropractic clinic in Perth for a couple of years, and then ultimately I moved back home and continued just to establish myself. And once again, back then, even when I started, Instagram wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
It was around, but you certainly weren't building businesses on it.
Fully.
It was like, here's a picture of a horse.
Just
like,
the one picture. Not even a carousel or a reel.
No, there was no such thing. No such thing as stories, and it was like this horrible orange filter over everything.
Literally.
So the building a business back then was still going around putting flyers in the post box. It was still advertising in the local Rotary directory. It was putting newspapers in ads. I actually did get a bit of PR through doing some, like, the West Australian, which is like the state newspaper. I had met people through doing Pilates, and I mean, I think that's always good to know when you've got a business. It's okay to have other jobs.
Fully.
You will build connections that will help you. Like, I think people are like, no, I'm just going to do this thing.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Actually, I have connections from the years I did waitressing as a university that have helped me, I would say, in my job now.
There you go.
Yeah.
I love that. And I think it's that, like, stepping away from the norm and being like, you don't have to do something full-time for life, right?
Yeah.
Like we have such a rigid mentality when it comes to work or starting a business, being like, well, I need to prove myself that I'm doing this full-time for myself and make a living. And it's like, what if that is actually just your passion in life and work?
Yeah.
But you can supplement that with other things that fill your cup.
Yes.
And just normalizing, being like, I don't know about you, but I'm someone that loves to have their hands in a bit of everything. I'm not someone to just sit with the one thing, and I think that's kind of your case. Yeah, like you love to move your body. Yeah. But you also love to help women improve their health. So there's like, do it all.
Yeah.
You can.
Yeah, you can. And I think also like I think the pressure people put on their business when they first get started then like kills their creativity. Like because I didn't have the pressure on my business to provide for me financially, I had other means of income. It meant that I did have the freedom to grow it, and I didn't have this pressure on this must get me to this place within 12 months.
Yes.
Having said that, I think in some ways I've never put in, I've always sort of had a bit of a fallback. Oh, if this doesn't work out, then it's okay.
Yes.
And so I will also say that that's the shadow side to that, is that sometimes I haven't allowed myself to go all in because of fear or, scared. And it's at this point in my life where I'm like, no, I have to go all in. Like that is where I'm at. That's a bit of a side note, but that's essentially, basically how I grew. And it took a good 5 years to get established, I would say. And then within that time, then from there, word of mouth and referrals, and things like that have grown. I've tried different ways of working. I've worked by myself. I've worked in different clinics. I've worked for a bigger clinic over east. All because I thought that myself wasn't enough. I have to work for a big, nationally known. I have to work, in this certain way. I have to work super hyper medical professional. And I would say that within the last, not really in the 2 years, but that's, a decade now in practice, I've really just become comfortable with who I am and what I provide, and that's okay.
Isn't that crazy? Because you obviously have so much wisdom. And actually, I don't think you know this, but so I was your client, I think like 2020 to 2021.
Possibly,
and I remember you were my first naturopath that I ever saw, and I already had this interest in natural health, and I was having chronic candida infections. And I remember talking to you, and you had the in-person clinic here in Margaret River, and I was like, this woman knows so much. And you just communicate with so much passion when you're in clinic. Like you can tell it's like, you know your shit, and you're also just really caring for the client. And I was like, I want to become a naturopath. And I have my marketing degree, so completely different. And then I went on and studied an online nutrition course with this school in the UK, all like natural healing diet stuff. And that was kind of like my starting point into naturopathy. But I've always remembered Tess and her wisdom, and it's so crazy how you wouldn't even believe that in yourself.
Thank you. Many years. Look, I feel confident in what I know. It's almost like a confidence in, it's almost like within the one-to-one space, that's where I thrive and things like that. It's just that the world is so different in how you share yourself, and probably maybe myself from a marketing perspective is like, oh no, like I still, do I know enough to put myself out there?
And there's so many confident people talking in the online space nowadays, which not like that. And if I was to go in front of the camera and talk, I wouldn't be talking like that. So is that actually going to reach people? And there's that bit of imposter syndrome there.
It's almost, I get a sense of frustration. I'm like, I know more than that. And I mean, that's when I go, okay, well, if that's the way you're going to act, then you go out there and do the thing. And that's where I've come from in the last couple of years. It's like you can't just sit back and be annoyed that someone has way less experience than you is doing way better than you.
Fully. And I think that's one of the things that I wanted to touch on today, how I've kind of followed you for all these years, and I've definitely seen, like from a marketing perspective, like you showing up in front of the camera. But I think the best thing, and why it inspired me to bring you on the podcast, was how raw you share. As a mum, juggling business, life, relationship, family, etc., there's not a pretty picture to paint there, because it's messy. with its highs and its lows, right? And I think that's the most powerful thing for people to connect online, is just seeing a true human living life without creating a set expectation of what life should look like. And I think you've done that really well.
Thank you.
Which leads me to another topic, which is your Ignite membership. I can imagine the effort that it takes.
Yeah.
So the thread behind that is helping women 35 onwards with underlying health symptoms that cannot afford maybe like going to a naturopath regularly, and just helping them understand their body better. What kind of threads do you see in this age group in women? Which I understand there might be a lot, but I'm sure there's also a few that really pop out.
Well, that's why I created the membership, because I felt like I was getting this, it was the same things coming in over and over again. And part of, I think, the benefit of being a membership is, yes, I can offer something at a lower cost for people that maybe can't afford one-to-one, but also to be able to work in community.
Yes.
And also to see the struggle in others and go, oh, I'm not alone. So within that, the most common things you see in the over 35-year-olds is chronic stress.
Yes.
and also the anxiety, and then also I would say, I don't know if you know much about the polyvagal theory, but also what's called dorsal vagal shutdown. So that is essentially, polyvagal theory is, I guess we've all heard about stress, and I don't want to be in fight or flight, which is the sympathetic nervous system overload. What many people don't know is you can actually go into what's called parasympathetic overload as well. Parasympathetic, we've all heard as being the good, which is, I'm in rest and digest. We can actually go too far into that.
Yes.
And that often happens when we've been in fight or flight for so long. And then our body goes, freeze. So what happens if, say an animal is going into heightened stress? It will maybe try to attack, and then it will be like, oh, I can't get out of this. Freeze. Or the fawn response. That's okay. No worries. The people pleaser.
Yes.
And I think many women also are actually in what's that dorsal vagal.
Fully.
Way more.
Yes.
Way more frozen. I can't do anything. I can't get out of this. I'm just going to roll over and accept all the form response. They're in a job they don't like, but they continue to show up for their boss that's being a dick, or their partner that's a dick. No worries. You
just sit in that comfortable space that doesn't challenge you anymore. You're just tired, and you just take a step back.
You're tapped out.
Yeah.
Classic freeze response is scrolling on your phone. I'm tapped out. And you hear it from people all the time. I just need to zone out at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I just need to scroll. That is dorsal vagal shutdown. You're not in tune. We need some sympathetic nervous system activation. We need to be activated.
Fully.
If you are not activated, you're in freeze. So I think, once again, you don't want to be an over sympathetic. That's when we're in fight, anger, rage. And I definitely see that in women. Or flight.
Okay,
I can't deal with that, run away. I can't deal with that, run away.
And we just pretend everything's okay.
And then it kind of can move into the bit of the form, but it's sort of like, I'm not dealing with that. So there's a little bit of crossover, and I'm not saying one person ever sits into one, but I think most people could find that they're sitting in flight. I run away from my problems. I fight my problems. I attack. I freeze. I just shut down. I don't do anything. Or I'm in fawn response. They're sort of the four areas. And so to going back, the chronic stress is you're sitting within one of those consistently. And I think as women are getting to 35 and over, they're more in that dorsal vagal. And that is, I don't want to look at my partner at the end of the night. I'm just going to go on my phone. Or I can't deal with my kids right now. I'm just going to drink wine. Oh my gosh.
Yes. I can only think that even, not being 35, but similar situations in myself, and being like, it makes so much sense. And not everyone, I guess, has the capacity and the wisdom maybe from lived in experiences to be like, no, this does not serve me, right? And you can only imagine how many women will, for whatever reason, whether it's financially, family ties, whatever it is, will just sit in that position for however many decades, right?
Yeah, exactly. You could, many people could happily sit in that for decades. And I wouldn't say happily, they'll just sit within it. They won't be happy at all. And that's the thing. And so you kind of end up, I think women go into this heightened stress, which I would say is more the 20-year-olds, is that high anxiety. I've got to do all the things, my life, oh my God, I'm 30, I must find the man of my dreams.
Life is coming to an end.
Life is coming to the end, and experience.
Fully.
Hello. Like,
hello.
Yeah. Like,
we're here.
Yeah, I've done that. And then I moved into, and look, I created this because I know this.
Exactly.
Like I've known it within my own body, plus I've seen hundreds of women within it.
Yeah.
So we have this like stress situation. The other commonly things we can see is weight gain that just seems to come out of nowhere. And it might only be like 3, 5, 6 kilos, but people are just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, what's going on?
And then they like, I'll just eat less and I'll just start running. And that doesn't work. Because your body is not something of a 20-year-old, it's shifted.
Fully.
And then you have the hormonal shifts and patterns that start to come in. So we know that the average age of menopause is 50. Menopause being when you don't have a period for 12 months anymore, okay? Periods. But there is a time of perimenopause or the late reproductive years that can be 10 to 15 years.
Yeah.
And so there's hormonal shifts already occurring at 35. And not to say if you're 35 plus you can't have a child and you're going, that's absolutely not what I'm saying. But you are different hormonally to what you were as a 22, 25-year-old. And those shifts will start to happen and pattern. So that was originally sort of these are the things I'm seeing all together. And then these are the things that we need to shift and start to change and start to educate on, like, we need to eat differently. We need to move better. We need to address the stress. And then now as I'm growing the membership and things, we're going into more specific conditions. So we're talking about premenstrual dysphoric disorder this month. We're doing like a session on libido next month. We're going to do work, a lot of gut health stuff is coming up. So, gut health being connected to, where your weight gain is at, your mood, chronic candida, it all. So that's where it's come from, and they're the common things.
That's so good. I'll definitely link it for people who want to join. How many people are kind of in the community at the moment?
I've got 13 in there at the moment.
So good.
Yeah.
And so do you do regular check-ins every month?
So we have, essentially I have a theme, a monthly theme. So yes, this month is more nervous system work. I already had a core module on cortisol and how it's affecting the body. Now we're I'm also kind of playing it by ear as to what I can see, and I feel within the group people understand how their stress is now impacting on them, but they can't get the tools. So this month is really about the tools. And then so I'll have essentially at the start of the month we do an hour conversation about introducing the themes and key topics and discussing it. And then every month I also just do a purely coaching call, which is where people can come in, they can just talk through, we can talk through there's only 4 on the last coaching call, so one girl got half an hour with me.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, and then we have a community group where people can just post their blood test results or what's going on for them, and I will answer their questions.
I love that. Yeah, and I think people would definitely benefit from that, again, normalizing that things can be off in your life. And I think there's that element there of almost psych, a bit of therapy within that, because you need to voice those things. There's emotions tied to all these symptoms coming up, and just feeling a bit understood. And finding that group of like-minded people being I'm not alone.
Exactly.
Your body is going to be the biggest thing that's going to warn you that something's not right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I think that's really powerful. That sounds really good.
Yeah, and it's also just from my perspective as a practitioner, I could only see people every 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks. So much happens in a month or 2.
Fully.
So now we have that ability to be okay, this is I'm here. I'm here all month. And that's how I wanted to start moving into practice, because I was there's only so much I can do with someone in 45 minutes every 6-8 weeks.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's almost that work smarter, not harder in a way, but also knowing that what you're offering is of value. Right? You're not just making it for a money thing. It's people are actually really benefiting from this. So that's amazing. Yeah, good on you. I had a bit of a question now that brings us into a bit of motherhood. It's something that I wanted to touch on again, because you're so open in your own socials about your journey. But I think, again, for someone who hasn't got kids but plans to have kids one day, I just love having perspective. I hate when people just paint one picture. No, I love being a mum. I get it. It's gonna be the best gift in your life, but I can't fully believe that it's all sunshine and rainbows.
Absolutely not.
And so exactly. So I guess, how did your focus into career and your own personal ambitions shift the moment you became a mum. Was your practice then a bit like, I'll just take a step back for like indefinitely, or how did you see that? Because you're quite ambitious yourself, hey?
Oh, it was so hard. And look, in some ways, I think my first year of motherhood got ruined because I had a business.
Okay.
And not because of anything to do but my own mind and my own ambition and my own head. And what that was okay, I knew that I always wanted to become a mother. And so part of me, even in that last year or two before I fell pregnant, was preparing my business and how that's going to look. But nothing can prepare you for becoming a mum. You have no idea. Like, you just have no idea how you're going to react, what sort of child you're going to have. Is your child going to sleep 6 hours a night? Is it going to wake every hour like mine? Like, you just don't know. There's so many things. Women go, I'm going to do this and I'm going to set this up. And I'm like, I have a plan, but let's keep it free. And I didn't. I was like, this is how it's going to be, and I'll just go back to work and things like that. And I think what happened was I went on maternity leave at 36 weeks pregnant, and then decided that I was like, I'm going to do all these courses. Like, I'm going to do it. Like, I just couldn't sit still within it. Then my son was born, absolutely fell in love with him straight away, but had this sense of like, just being a mum isn't good enough, and and it was like a lack of sense of identity of like, oh, well, now I'm just a mum. And then I had planned to go back to work when he was 4 months old, and creeping up to that time, I remember I had so much anxiety. I didn't want to leave him. Like, I didn't want, and look, I was leaving him with my mother-in-law, who's grandma, who loved him very, very much. And I was only going for 2-3 hours at a time. I started going back at like 2 days a week.
Was this your in-person clinic here in Margaret?
Yeah. But I had so much, I just didn't want to leave him. I was so in love with him, and he was only 4 months old, and it was really hard going from that adjustment of caretaking for a child and then also starting to caretake for other people. And I was also doing some Zoom consults online with him, and I would have him in the baby carrier. And it was a really challenging year to work that out. And I now know that at the time I probably had postnatal anxiety and had undiagnosed ADHD as well.
Yes, welcome to the club.
And this is when a lot of women get diagnosed with ADHD as they become a mother, because I had created all these systems around me to be okay, like, well, I just do this and then I'm okay and I prove my worth, and all of that got ripped out from underneath me when I was become a mother, and that's where the anxiety came from, and rah. So within that, and that's why I conceived purposely my second child when my son was 13 months old, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to have them really close together, and we're just going to stay in this time. And then once my daughter was born, I mean, that's really when shit hit the fan. 2 under 2. Once again, I've worked in fertility and women's health by this stage for like a decade, and like, what was I thinking? Like, did I think that it was okay to have 2 children that were babies, 2 sets of nappies, nap schedules, like everything? And at that point is when I left the clinic and I went purely online. I just couldn't hold maintaining an in-person space, like trying to go in and do cleaning with it was all too much. And then I just went purely online for a couple of years. So it was really challenging. And what I found really hard within those, I would probably even say my youngest is now 4, my oldest is 6. It's really only been the last year that I've kind of been able to find some stability in work. And I've tried so many different ways of working within that. Like, I tried to create a course. I tried to work for another clinic because I thought, okay, well, they can handle all the bookings and the reception and things like that. So I have really chopped and changed a lot in the last, since my children have been born. And in some ways, I just had to do that to try things out, but it's also been to a detriment to the business as well, because people go, oh, well, you're doing this and now you're doing that. Hello, ADHD. Yeah. But also I was trying to find something that worked, and I now realize it was just having little kids and working is really hard.
Fully. And not just working, running your own business.
It's really hard. And now that my children are in school, my daughter goes to kindergarten a few days a week, and my children never went to daycare because there just weren't those sorts of kids either, and I've been lucky to have parent help along the way to help with care. it's really hard, and I was kind of always had this like guilt stick and shame stick on myself of you should be able to do this and you should be able to handle this better, and you know, I also did have other words from people going, well, just do this and just do that, and in the end, ultimately, like, you know, it's just a really hard time, and I think you just got to try and like make things work, and that might mean shifting every 3-4 months.
Fully.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know, I feel like the undiagnosed ADHD thing, right? Like I've been diagnosed early this year. Also the same thing. People around you can really, you know, people who are not aware about what a woman with ADHD is like and how our brains work. Especially when we are not the stereotypical ADHD, right? That everyone thinks is the classic, like, can't sit still. And no, it's an inner voice that cannot stop. And the overwhelm is so irrational, right? Like, I have yelled into a pillow because my ex-partner didn't make the bed the way I liked it. Like, frustration because the overwhelm in other areas of my life was so heightened.
Yeah.
I can only imagine when you're giving your fullest, not just to 2 little ones, but then to a partner, to family, to a business. Like, you're stretched out so thin, and our brains are not made for that. But also our brains love the stimuli of everything, right? Like, a bit of this, a bit of that, a bit of change. But it is detrimental to our health.
Yeah.
And it is detrimental to our mental health more than anything. And I just have so much admiration because without having been a parent, but I know what that overwhelm feels like, and the opinions of other people being like, just breathe, it's okay, and you're like, it is not, internally it is not, and you want to do it all, and you want to do it to a certain degree and a standard, but so often you're like, I'm failing at everything I'm doing.
It's also extremely hard if you're like, I go into hyper focus with ADHD, so I will go into a zone for like 3-4 hours, and you cannot do that when you have kids. Like sometimes people go, just like, I remember having a business coach like, just work in 15-minute blocks. That's what I'm like, are you serious? Like, it takes me like 20 minutes to get my space set up because I have to have things in a certain way. And so it's also, I think probably what has helped me with the diagnosis is recognizing that advice is not going to work for me. That's very neurotypical advice. And move away. And I'm very good now at going, vroom, vroom, like, no. And I didn't have that in those four years. And I was taking advice from people that were extremely neurotypical, that did or didn't have kids. I was also in a point in the last 3 years of a relationship breakdown. So that's in the back of my mind all the time of like, you need to keep working on that. You know, there's like 3 major elements of my life, you know, plus a dad that got diagnosed with a dementia as well. So there was actually like 4. Like, there goes your parent, there goes your relationship, there goes your job. It was like crazy. all
but still get your reel on social media and get some business going.
And, you know, like, exactly.
It's like, ask a mum for that. Like, that's not okay. It's not okay.
But that's like where the world's trained us to be. It's like, don't worry. Like, all that stuff's going on, but like, just show up on social media and you'll be fine.
And I feel like, I don't know how you feel about this, and this is actually something that I didn't have planned, but I think there's almost like a new era of feminism. I don't know if it even is feminism, but I think we've been so emasculated now as females. And it is just so against our biology and the way we work, whether you have ADHD or not, just because naturally, and I'm generalizing this, the woman tends to do more at home. And I still think that we just carry so many hats. There's just so many things involved that I'm like, when did we just let go of the feminine side that needs the softness and the nurture, etc., and that's praised as well as pursuing a career, etc. But I feel like we've just been too emasculated, and then we don't care for the feminine side. We just go.
Yeah, and I think, look, I have this conversation with plenty of my patients, many because my patients do work and their mum and things like that, is that what happened was we have the rise of feminism. The rise of feminism was just become, well, let's just become more like a man. Wasn't really like feminism, and it's sort of like, okay, well, you can just go and do your job and work. And I'm not saying that was wrong at all. I think that's beautiful that women have choice and they can provide for themselves and things like that. But what happened was you go and do all that, but you still have to
Exactly.
do all of this as well. And then we also moved into more of a society in the last, 20 years of more isolation, that we live away from parents. I think, look, I'm very lucky that I have had parenting support. There's no way I could have done what I have done without that. But don't live in community. And so, and then we still have, look, I'm not shaming men at all. I think amazing men have stepped up in the last 20 years as well, that men are, and the reality is they are doing more in the home than they ever have as well, and they are doing more caregiving. So I think we're both genders kind of got screwed in that, because now we also have, are pushing onto men as well, as you need to do this and you need to do that, when they are still a lot of the times the sole or the main financial provider. But now, and I see a lot of men, they're exhausted and burnt out as well. And I'm not trying to shift it onto them.
No, I like that.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm saying is, I'm not saying, oh, woe is on the woman. I think both genders got screwed in this.
And we're all a bit confused now, trying to find our roles.
Trying to find their roles, and then we're getting these women that are like getting stronger and stronger in personalities, and men don't know how to show up to that. So they're just like getting crushed.
Yes.
And
can we relate?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and they're like, oh, like, I don't know how to handle you, and I'm just going to step back and let you do your thing.
Fully.
But that's not ultimately what a woman wants.
No. And I think that's this generation where we're at, where communication is just more crucial than ever, because we're asking so much from each other in new ways. You know, back in the day, the roles were set. Yeah. You do this, I do that, we function. Yeah. Team, let's go. And now we're all intertwining and accepting new ways. But it takes a lot for both to meet at the same point in that kind of more open perspective of exchanging roles and who does what, and feel like it's a fair give and take.
And I think, like, we talk about the masculine and feminine energies, and that's a big thing that everyone talks about now and things like that. And I do believe as a woman we hold the masculine, we hold the feminine, and men hold the feminine, they hold the masculine energies. But it's just where that's sitting within your relationship all the time. Yes. And once again, I'm not shaming men, because I think they kind of have been pushed into these roles that they also don't know to think about it. Like, this is the first generation of, my dad never changed a nappy. Yeah. Like, never. My mum can tell me, she never once changed a nappy. I'm sure there were dads in the 80s that did. My dad never did. Yeah. So we have a new generation of men that are now, like, getting up in the night and changing, but then they still going to work, often exhausted. And then we have women that are like, well, I'm doing all this and I'm doing the job. And it's, look, I don't know where I'm going, but it's just like this kind of this societal soup of like, no one really knows what the hell they're doing. Yeah. And it's creating mess.
Fully. I agree. But I also think it leads to the need for men to have that space, right? I think as women, the sharing community is like so ancient for us, right? We come together as women, we think alike, we become like, there's an in tune thing, no matter if you know the person or not. But I don't think men have ever had this safe space to share, to open up. And so we're coming to them so full force, and then they're like, what? And I think that just is a need that needs to happen. And I think, normalizing, again, mental health, opening up conversations between men. Maybe there should be a dirty 30 chats for men. Yeah, someone start the podcast.
Well, and that's the thing. Also, I think women has realized we can't go to men like that. Yeah. They're not your bestie.
No, yes.
Like, stop treating your partner like your bestie.
Yeah, we put way too much pressure into them meeting every single
You want to kill attraction?
Yeah.
Make them your best friend. There's nothing I cannot stand more is when I hear someone say, my child is my best friend, or my partner is my best friend. I'm like, gives me the ultimate ick. Don't make your child your best friend. Fully. You are their mother. Yes. They don't need to give what you give to them. Fully. And same as with your partner. Don't make them your bestie. Like, I'm sorry, that's not what...
Yeah. Unless your child is 20 and you're going to parties together, then be best friends, but still.
I still think, like, as a 38-year-old woman, don't want my mum as my best friend. Like, sure, I want her to hear me and listen to me, but I want her to be the mother. Yeah. Yeah, and maybe I thought that might just be me, and we all have a different perspective or things like that on it, but yeah, I think as women, we now treat our partner like, listen to me. And sure, I think there needs to be some level of listening space, but also we need to have those other outlets.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I love that. How do you feel if we take a little pause and have some water and then come back to this? Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, cool.